Hello and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzuba. Today on the program, Nigerians express outrage after government bans Twitter as Attorney General calls for arrest and prosecution of violators. Chief of Army Staff, Major General Farouk Yahya, says army alone cannot contain Nigeria's enormous security challenges. Also on the program, striking workers finally sign agreement with governors on autonomy, agree on a 40-day window for implementation. Naira crosses $500 to $1, the lowest fall in more than 4 years. And later on the show, Sultan Saad Abubakar kicks against scrapping of NYSC as bill seeking its discontinuation reaches second reading at the House of Representatives. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Adekunle Yusuf. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. We start today's edition of Journalist Hangout on Sunday on a very sad note, the demise of Pastor Temitokwe Joshua, Prophet
Synagogue Church of All Nations.
Synagogue Church of All Nations at the age of 58. We were told that he died yesterday.
Just a few days to his 58th birthday.
To his 50th birthday, just a few days.
A few days.
To his 58th birthday. Jide, the TB Joshua, what I know about him, what I see about him is that that part of being a great philanthropist.
Yes. No doubt about it.
The videos I've been watching throughout, all the old women, the empowerment he used to do, they've gathered in his church and they are all crying that what will make out of our life since TB Joshua is no longer, because they say on a monthly basis it's something we part to the widows.
Yes, it's unfortunate that we had to lose him at such a young age. People live into their 90s, but when a man in his 50s lives, it's not a good story. That part of him, that philanthropic part of him, is what endeared many people to him. Many people have never been to his church, but they've heard about the positive impact that it's had on people's lives. Sending people to school, paying for their school fees, placing people on scholarship. Generally making life better for people. What is the value of the money you have if you can't show mercy to people around you? If you can't touch lives, then it's meaningless. So if there's anything that will take out of the eventful life that Prophet Temitokwe Joshua has lived, is that heart of gold that he had.
Adekunle Yusuf, the videos, when you check the videos and of all his exploits and everything, I discovered that he's even more popular outside of Nigeria. He deals with presidents, deals with other countries, other big African countries, and everybody is always talking about TB Joshua. If you go to South Africa, he's a very, very big stock there.
You look at our, I'm a Muslim, but I must confess I'm an admirer of Pastor TB Joshua. I may not believe any other thing, but I so much admire his art of philanthropy. He's somebody who cared for the poor. He spent almost everything he had. I had doubted a lot of things and I had to be involved, and what I saw, I couldn't believe it. I don't know of any religious leader of his status, that is doing that much. But when you talk about his popularity abroad, I don't know of any religious leader from here that is that important.
It's always giving,
and I don't want to say worshipped abroad.
What
TB Joshua's church contributes to the economy of Nigeria. I'm talking about foreign exchange.
Yes.
I don't know of any private thing.
If you remember that last accident,
if you go to the airport,
South
if you go to our airport,
people from other,
if you see the way
it's like a tourist.
People troop to his church. He may not be as popular as other religious leaders in Nigeria, but abroad, nobody compares with Pastor TB Joshua.
He was
really, it was
his place
really
was like a pilgrim site.
and the pilgrim site. Then, do you know the beauty of why I admire him? Unlike some, you won't see Pastor TB Joshua going to meet one governor, going to meet minister, going to. If you are even anything, you will come to Pastor TB Joshua.
He must come to that his own
He
church.
dignified himself.
World leaders were coming, and the late leader of Tanzania was his very good friend. In fact, he told me that the man was going to donate a giraffe. He had already built the place where he would put those giraffes in his place.
The man in Liberia today, you remember?
George, yes,
You
yes, I remember. Yes.
He's always in and
I
out
remember,
of.
yes.
You understand?
World
How
leaders,
many
there
do you
are-
want to? So when I look at him, I felt when I saw the news, I said, God, please don't let this be true. But eventually it was confirmed. I
We
said,
will
oh
all
my
die.
God.
We all
all
died.
died.
Just the timing.
I really felt.
They say we are like pencils in his hand.
Really,
At any point in time, we just.
may
All
God
right.
rest him.
I just pray that the Almighty God will grant the family of Prophet Tebitapo Joshua the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss. Now, moving on now. The story of Nigeria and the United States can best be captured as a tale of two different countries. It is appalling to Nigerians that the decision of the micro-blogging site Twitter to pull down an offensive tweet by President Muhammadu Buhari could lead to suspicion of its operation in the country. It does not end there. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has ordered the arrest and prosecution of violators of the activation of Twitter in Nigeria. Jide, this is a very hot story and it's still running, and I don't think this is the last we've heard about the Twitter debacle. Now, I read a response from Twitter saying that they don't. I don't know, maybe that response was from Twitter, but if that response was actually from Twitter saying that they did not know President Muhammadu Buhari and they did not know he was the president of Nigeria.
That the Twitter did not generate that. It's an individual, a mischief maker on social media, sat down and concocted that thing
Story.
so that more and more people can support the action that the president has taken. You see, these days, it's dangerous to simply believe anything you see on social media. There's no way Twitter could have said that they didn't know who the president was and that they did not care. That
Just Google it. See what leader
it's just that thing was cloned. It was cloned and meant to be like what Twitter said. Twitter, they never said such a thing. You know, many people have cross-checked and seen clearly that it's somebody who just wrote that. And I can tell you that
just to aggravate this situation.
yes, the truth is, yes, Twitter's actions will be challenged because of inconsistency in even the implementation of his own rules.
Yeah.
Definitely people will ask questions, what's going on? How come somebody will be allowed to do live video and be calling for violence? And another person says something, and then you simply pull that down. Between the person calling for violence in a live video and the one who said something that appeared like he's baying for, he's promising violence, which is worse? I said at the time that for me, it was harsh to ban Twitter, especially an indefinite ban, the way that they have done. But that does not mean that Twitter had never been blameless. And technological giants must not come to the point when they will now be behaving like dictators themselves. Because when they decided to punish Trump in the way they did, I felt, how about the 70 million people who voted for Trump? Don't they also deserve to be heard? You are not a social enterprise. You are just a money-making company. And you are taking this kind of decisions, even getting extremely involved in political matters. So I still insist that a ban that we have carried out was harsh. But at the same time, I believe that Twitter needs to look at its operations and ask itself whether the way they are doing things was right. You can see that even the Indians too, they complained about him, the Turks complained, and they had to take some steps to make the government of Turkey happier. I believe that Nigeria would be able to get Twitter to take some steps that will allow for the suspension to be lifted. I've also heard that they've even begun to pull down some of Nnamdi Kanu's tweets. I do not know, I didn't bother to check, but if they've done that, that means that it has occurred to them that that was something that they could have done. Many Nigerians will find it difficult to, because they felt NSAS, that people are mobilized through Twitter, those who came to Bond TVC. In fact, on Twitter, they were threatening, they were saying, let's go there, this and that.
We are victims. Go and check out
Yes.
on Twitter.
Yes, some of them were threatening us.
Dragging us out every day. I don't bother checking it.
So now, that's why, on this matter, the president got a lot of support. More than even, I know some people do not want to hear Buhari's name. But on this matter, they supported him because they felt that, look, these were the people that Twitter had allowed people to use that platform to foment trouble, to plan violence against the Nigerian state. And on this, Nigerians don't want our country to break up. If they think that Twitter has encouraged an individual to use his platform to do a lot of that, you can then understand why the president got as much support as he got on this matter, because a lot of, even my own friends on Facebook, whom I know do not particularly like the president, they said, no, Twitter was wrong because he did not treat Nnamdi Kanu the same way that he chose to treat the president.
Mr. President is saying that we'll speak to them in the language they understand. That was what he said. Reading from that is quotes, and that's inflamed all this controversy.
You see, when you look at all social media, the ground rules are not too difficult for anybody to understand. Whatever is offensive is not determined by Twitter or by Facebook, by any one of them. It's determined by the people, the users. If Jide comes up with anything, no matter how good or beautiful, if you and I decided that we feel offended by what is doing, that is about it, and we complained, the moment we complain, then they don't know whether it is good or bad, they just believe it is bad, then they pull it down. Facebook does it, others, do the same thing.
Even suspend your accounts.
You understand me? in this case, whether Twitter is right, whether Twitter is not right, I believe we should take actions and reflect deeply before we do. To me, this is too harsh. I believe we should have, if we have a grant, serious grant, that Twitter has done a lot of things and national security wise, we didn't like it. We give them, warning, suspension. Maybe the president account was suspended for a few hours, then his tweet was deleted. Now, what about the economic benefits, humongous benefits that we can make from it? We need to think about all those so that then we now set the ground rules. Before you know it, what is happening? You said it is suspended indefinitely and that the National Broadcasting Commission should go ahead and start regulating this. Believe me, we must not do things that will show that we don't want freedom, of speech or anything that will tamper with the liberty of the people. Believe me, this is a democracy, and what oils the engine of democracy is people must get involved. They must keep talking, and when they do, it is for everybody's benefit.
Finally, on this, Babajide, once again, our Attorney General has said something that inflamed Nigerians again, and this is saying that anybody that's found to have used this Twitter will be prosecuted. Because that's
How many people are they going to catch?
Most officials of federal government have used Twitter after.
Yes,
After
even people in government.
I can name them.
The people in government,
show
they
their
are still,
tweets.
after the president, after that directive was issued, you know, it didn't go into effect immediately.
Okay.
They were still using it.
3 a.m. after.
They were still using Twitter. The truth is, I don't know how banks, for example, because a lot of the solution-based work of the banks rely so much on Twitter, you know, to interface with customers and get solutions. So if a bank refuses to refund your money, for example, and you go to Twitter to complain, it gets done immediately. And there are many Nigerians making money from Twitter, young people making money from Twitter. So when we want to take decisions at times, we need to look at the bigger picture. Imagine that a lot of people will suffer just because of the decision that we have taken. For someone like me, that was why I felt, well, this was harsh. And it is possible for government to interface with Twitter and still achieve its aims without necessarily resorting to banning Twitter indefinitely. This is the feeling that I have. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, this whole matter will be resolved.
all right. Just before we go to our next story, let's take you to Jigawa State, northwest Nigeria, where the state chapter of the All Progressive Congress (APC) is enmeshed in a crisis over social media posts by member of the House of Representatives Muhammadu Gudaji Kazure. He was suspended over comments on the leadership of the party in the state on his Facebook page. But APC members in Kazure, his constituency, have staged a protest against the move. They said the purported suspension of Gudaji Kazure did not follow laid down procedure. TVC News Ibrahim Issa has the story.
The political tone in Kazauri, Jigawa State is taking a new dimension as warring members of the All Progressives Congress (APC) stormed the party secretariat in Kazauri, the constituency of a member House of Representatives Muhammadu Gudaji Kazauri, to protest against his suspension from the party. The members carried placards singing party songs in favor of the House of Representatives member, saying his suspension is null and void. Speaking to newsmen during the protest, the APC Public Relations Officer in Kazauri, Muhammad Dauda, said the suspension was not carried out in accordance with the laws.
All the members, all the ESCO from the ward and the local government ESCO was not aware. We don't know anything about the suspension. And we don't know why will you go to and suspend a member House of Representatives, even a chairman ward. You don't have any reason. Even in the Constitution, as you read, it's only by a two-side when you get, and that you will remove the contestant.
Members of the All Progressives Congress (APC) right here in Kazore say they are totally in support of the member House of Representatives Muhammad Gudaji Kazauri. The protesters, who moved around major roads in the town, were halted by the police on their way to the Emir's palace. Muhammad Gudaji Kazauri was suspended by the APC in Kazauri over comments on the leadership of the party in Jigawa State via his verified Facebook page. Whether or not the crisis between Gudaji Kazauri and the party would be resolved will be determined by time. Ibrahim Issa, TVC News, Jigawa.
That's member of House of Representatives Muhammadu Gudaji Kazauri, called that Kazauri, from a member of House of Representatives. Judy, has social media been a yardstick for the party, in your opinion, to suspend you?
No, yeah, sometimes members of the APC, when they have a little misunderstanding they completely go against the party rules and try to use excessive power. It is apparent that the governor of the state, Badaru, does not like Gudaji Kazaure and is trying to use other people to embarrass him and probably frustrate him out of the party. But for whatever is worth, Gudaji Kazaure is very popular.
From what?
Very, very popular. No doubt about it. And even in the House of Reps, he is very vocal. He speaks his mind. Never mind how he manages to deliver his message, but he speaks his mind. That is apparent. Even during the last dispensation, he was very, very vocal, and he remains vocal. If there's anything that he feels he needs to complain about, he will complain about it, and he's always fighting for his people. So this kind of suspension that does not follow the due process is a waste of time. If he takes the party to court, he's going to win. This was the same thing that was done by the Oshomole-led ESCO back then when they decided to suspend the former vice chairman Northwest, the late Abdul Kadri. Of course, Abdul Kadri went to court. In the final analysis, they were brought back. So this is unfair. You must follow this process. If the ESCO at the ward level, at local government level, said they were not aware, then how did the suspension happen? Because he joined the party at ward level. If he's going to be punished, it has to originate from that ward level.
And when he's going to be punished, they will have to summon him. Something like when you are queried, you will have to say his own side. So it's not that somebody will just announce. And believe me, why are we looking like we have become a people that don't want to tolerate opposing ideas? Must all of us say this, think the same way? Somebody posted something on Facebook, and why is that a big offense? If you don't like it, you can counter it and post your own. That's the beauty of democracy. But in the opinion of some people, that is enough to expunge somebody from the membership list of the ruling party. Believe me, I think the national leadership of the party should have just, issued a statement to say nothing like that should happen, because it embarrasses the party, the ruling party for that matter, that somebody posted on Facebook, a member of Nigeria's House of Representatives. To me, that is ridiculous. It shouldn't stand, and I believe some reason has taken over.
All right. From defense minister to the president and the commander-in-chief himself, top hierarchy of the Nigeria's leadership have lamented the insecurity is becoming overwhelming for the country. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Farouk Yahya, says the army alone cannot contain insecurity ravaging the country. At a meeting with the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Isaka Amao, General Yahya said the war against insurgency and armed banditry can only be won through synergy among the armed forces. We've always been emphasizing this fact, and we know that it was one of the major bane of the last service chiefs that's in their operation, that lack of synergy between those service chiefs really robbed us enough opportunity to actually mop up this Boko Haram guys.
Yes, and as I said last week, it's a thing of joy that these ones are working together. They are really, really working together. We now have the defense ministry, the chief of defense staff, coordinating attacks, planning attacks on the enemy. which is basically his responsibility. All joint attacks by the armed forces are to be coordinated by the Chief of Defense Staff. We are seeing increasingly that the Chief of Defense Staff is taking direct charge, taking control of things. In the past, the Air Force could just say, okay, we are going on an operation and do it alone. No, this time around, the defense headquarters would
As led by
be
General
aware.
Yabo?
Yes, the defense headquarters would be aware, and the defense headquarters will facilitate such joint operations. And we are seeing good response to distress from the army by the Air Force. This will ensure that we achieve greater success. I'm happy that as soon as he was made the Chief of Army Staff, he went to see the Chief of Air Staff and had a meeting with him. This kind of synergy was really not there between the former service chiefs, who are not even praying in the same mosque, and even their staff, their officers and men could see clearly that there was a disagreement between both men. Yes, you know. So, but this time around, we can rest assured that these people will work together, and if only this is sustained, then the days of the enemy are numbered.
Yusuf, when you look at this this trend, this pattern, and you see that if there's like a coordination between the service chiefs and there's a coordinator who they respect so much, they will get results.
That will be the prayer of every Nigerian, because we are tired of insecurity. And I think part of the beauty of having synergy, all these the current service chiefs, they were part of the team before, and they knew all the loopholes. They knew where the problems were. They knew what were the issues. But they were not directly in charge to solve some of these problems. And luckily, you see the beauty of having to change service chiefs when we were clamoring for it, and some people say no. The former service chiefs, without trying to discredit anyone, they did their best, but their best wasn't good enough. Now, some other people came on board. They brought new ideas. What were the new ideas? That there should be synergy. And when there is synergy, when you work together, you can achieve anything. The beauty of imagine in the recent past, you will see the army, the soldiers, they want to go on an operation. Do you know you need here, backup? But when you don't collaborate with your colleagues in the Air Force, how do you do that? So they need to work together, because the Air Force is for Nigeria, it's not for another thing. The army for Nigeria, every other person. When you know that it's in the interest of Nigeria, the beauty of working together is we make life difficult for Boko Haram elements. And when we do, Nigerians will clap for them that, so we can actually win this war. Many people believe that, who have the notion that we won't win, we're able to change their mind that, Nigeria is already winning the war.
Looking at this politics surrounding it, the army spokesman last week actually came out to say that a lot of people were talking about the Chief of Army Staff wanted to, retire some of the people. But I think it's like a tradition. If the person is older than you, it's not your cause, that person will go naturally. And we had a problem from the time of the former Chief of Army Staff that was like cost 27. That stayed so long, 29. Stayed so long that all the others now, what we have now.
No, the people will be retired. But the list going around, some of them actually cost 39. Some of them
50.
People just simply drop a list or people who are even mates of the current
Chief of Army Staff.
Army Staff, who is cost 37. You're putting people on cost 38, cost 39. Many people on that list that went viral were on cost 38, cost 39.
On what basis?
As a way of saying, there's going to be mass retirement of people.
Cost
The
disaffection.
the seniors of the Chief of Army Staff will go. That is tradition.
Naturally.
Yes, so there's nothing anybody can
not
do
questionable.
about. You are not going to be saluting your junior. It's not.
Against the military.
It's against the military tradition to salute your junior. You know, so many of them would have to go. But a lot of the people that they were banding their names around as people who
follow them.
who will go, and these people will send parking. Clearly, they were some of them were even juniors to the current chief of Army Staff. So the Army spokesman was right that look, there is not going to be a mass retirement of officers. It's just those seniors that will go, and then some of his own colleagues too. But it all depends on.
Can you make case for us? Some of them?
Of course, the former chief of army staff,
Atayo.
they retained a few of his friends and colleagues.
The same course.
Yes, like Hanotu, Seram, and the rest of them. Those were his mates. If he feels that he could work with them, yes, of course, he will be able to keep a few of them, not so many, just a few of them. If he feels that they will be ready to work with him and they will be loyal, no problem. I'm sure even with this chief of army staff, that's what we are going to see, because the former chief of army staff worked extensively with General Hanotu, who was his head of policy and plans, you know, and technically his number 2 man. They were mates, but he trusted him with that job, and they worked together. So I'm sure that will happen even with this new man. By the time he's decorated, with his new rank.
Okay. That should be Lieutenant General?
Yes.
Of course, it's a natural thing.
Yes, he will be able to make some postings, and we will see a clear direction. We will see clearly the direction he's headed.
The root cause of this war, it's not apparently military option might not be able to solve everything. You know, looking at the poverty rates, the unemployment rates, looking at so many things. Boko Haram, they've seen young boys, young girls as like a willing tool that they are using. I saw a video yesterday, and I just saw young boys. Some of them are not even Nigerians, but recruiting because of the pervasive poverty around that region. How can the government address this trend?
Then there will be good governance. When we have good governance, we don't have that. We have not been having that. And when we start having good governance, I mean governance that serves the purpose of governance, which is to make, yes, welfare of the people, security of people, and property and lives. We've not been having enough of that. You see, let me give you a little example. Yesterday, throughout Nigeria, unity schools in Nigeria, they did common entrance. I decided to move around in all major schools where they were holding the exams. Do you know what I expected? I got to the centers. There was no single place where you see security. Me, I was of opinion that before anybody woke up yesterday, you will see security at the entrance of each of the schools where they will do these exams. Because what you see hundreds of children and parents converging in such places. They will bring their little boys and girls. Yes, to do the exams in majorly secondary schools. Do you know, at a point I said, okay, does it mean that there is no government, either at the federal or subnational levels, that is aware that this exam we hold today? Why is it that nobody remembered to send security in a time where you know that children, students have become soft targets? So if these people come and cut away 500, 1,000 students, are we not going to be in bad news again? I say, okay, we just have a problem with governance, and until we are able to solve that, if we don't solve the problem of how we recruit leaders, the very best should go into leadership positions, either at the elective or appointive positions, so that when you have good governance, we are talking about poverty will reduce. We are talking about unemployment will, so many other things will just fall in place. Until we have that, they're just dreaming.
I used to see all these terrorists before in the Arab world and everything. I used to think that this cannot happen to Nigeria. When I see suicide bombers, when I see, terrorists operating, and gradually it crept into our country, and today it's a very, very big problem. How did you get here?
Well, Boko Haram began more or less by accident. Because I believe that if Mohammed Yusuf had not been killed, we would not have been in this mess. The wayward policemen who decided to take Mohammed Yusuf's life pushed Boko Haram to adopt terrorist tactics. And today, that same Boko Haram has gone through training by Al-Shabaab, has now even been
Somewhere to Libya,
affiliated to ISWAP. And Al-Shabaab itself was affiliated to Al-Qaeda, and then later on, more and more ISIS got involved. Some of the Al-Qaeda elements went to ISIS. Now ISIS has had a say in what Boko Haram does in our country, to the point that they even appoint leaders or Amir for Boko Haram. And the Boko Haram form of terror is something that we used to see abroad with Al-Qaeda, with Al-Shabaab, but we are seeing now that form of terror brought to our door. So sometimes the decisions that you take can have very negative lasting effect on not just you, but everyone. So we are grappling with that. The chief of army staff has said the army alone cannot do this. I agree. And I'm happy that the operation in Abuja, the Buhari area, where the bandits kept kidnappers, was done with the collaboration of hunters, civil defense, and other people. So all of the security agencies, including even Amotekun, we should be able to work with the armed forces to secure our country. Everyone must jump in. We are in a crisis situation now. Everyone must jump in and help us find a solution to this problem. And I'm confident that the current leaders of the current service chiefs would also be able to work effectively with the police, civil defense, agro rangers, and other security units in our country.
Wow. All right. Moving on now. Sanity may soon return to the judiciary as there is hope in sight for an end to the 2-month-old strike by Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSON. The striking judiciary and parliamentary workers have signed an agreement with state governors on financial autonomy for the judicial and legislative arms of government at the state level. They reached the agreement after a meeting in Abuja chaired by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige. They also agreed on a 40-day window to begin the implementation. Adekunle, at long last, this Jusong's guys held to their words, and they halted court proceedings and sittings for some weeks now.
After 40 days. Wasted 40 days. Making us look like an unserious set of people on a matter that we have no choice, we must still resolve. Sometimes I look at us, I say, what kind of people are we? These are not difficult issues. These are simple issues, but ego.
Depends on the way you're looking at it.
No, it's just my ego. May matter. These are issues that are in the constitution. Some people say no, we don't want that. They want to do something else. Get them to do what is proper. Then we spend 40 days. What is it? They want autonomy. Let them collect their money directly. I mean, first line charge. Why is that a big deal? I don't know. The governors, we have to think the way they run affairs in Nigeria. Yes, the governors, we have to think again the way they run affairs in Nigeria. The other time we were discussing about the warrant of arrest, man, you know that the governor is behind it. Why? This matter, they just signed an agreement that, okay, we give us also time, we give so percentage, we do this, we do that. This money does not belong to any governor. It's public fund. The one that is for the executive, nobody can touch it. The one that is for the legislature, let it go to the legislature. The one that is for the judiciary, I was reading the governor of Rivers State. This same agreement that we are applauding now. I was reading the governor of Rivers State, he is on Wiki. He said he was not consulted at all. That the Nigerian Governor Forum just signed without anybody consulting. And he dissociated himself from that agreement. And he declared that in Rivers State, Judiciary is already enjoying full, according to autonomy. In the legislature, is already enjoying full autonomy. And that he has released their capital fund, capital vote to them. That is the judiciary and the legislature. And in spite of that, he uses part of the executive fund to do capital project for them. You understand my point? So you now look at how do we handle all of this? This matter to me, having to waste 40 days, I feel it's ridiculous. How they will go ahead and implement it, I pray we still don't come around and be discussing for.
When we have this kind of situation, they have a window now, and thinking that it will be agreed upon. How do we know that these governors will not renege on the agreements?
Let's hope that the governors will let reason prevail and do what is right. The Constitution in Section 212, subsection 3, states clearly that the judiciary shall enjoy autonomy. So why are governors, a lot of who are even lawyers, why are they opposed to autonomy for the judiciary? Why in the world are they opposed to it? Why are they opposed to it? At the federal level, the judiciary enjoys autonomy. Once their money gets released to the heads of courts, that is as it is prescribed in the Constitution. So you expect that at state level we should be able to do that. If the Mr. President does not hold on to the funds of the judiciary at federal level, he allows their money to go straight to the heads of courts. Why is it difficult for governors to continue to do that? The only reason is they want to continue to lord it over the judiciary. We've seen governors who even suspended chief judge in their state. You've seen governors who remove chief judge. The thing is, you have no power to do that. Bukola Saraki did it with Justice Elelu Habib in Kwara. Yes, she won the case, but by the time she won the case, we had lost time. It was a case of justice delayed, but not really denied. But I'm saying that if, knowing what the Constitution says, Bukola Saraki should not have done that at that time. So these three arms of government are independent of one another. So the independence that we are talking about is amplified by the Constitution, and it is the Constitution that is supreme. Individuals cannot be more powerful than the Constitution. What these governors have done amounts to sacrilege, for which history may judge them harshly. So let them just do their best to allow this autonomy to go to the judiciary. People have sacrificed. People who had been in, who had cases in court, could not have those cases heard. Some people were detained, and they could not be brought to court to have for their bail hearing to happen, because the judicial workers were on strike. So we can't go through all of that sacrifice for nothing. These governors must do what is right, and what is right is to allow the autonomy to happen. The minister has done well to bring everyone together and get them to realize that he, as governor, never tampered with the autonomy of the judiciary. So now this is the time for us to have it. It's about time.
Okay, joining us now is the Lagos-based lawyer, Inibehe Effiong, joins us via Skype. Thank you for staying with us, Inibehe.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you for having me.
I want to know the implication of the continued judicial strike in the last few days, a few weeks, and how has it affected your trade?
It has been a very agonizing and difficult period for lawyers, for litigants, and the justice system generally in the country. I personally have had many cases being stalled, including cases at the Court of Appeal and various high courts across the country, and so on, that were fixed, either for hearing, for mention, for motion, or some other purposes that couldn't proceed because of the strike. I also have clients who needed, services in terms of approach to the courts that was not possible because the courts have been shut. Currently, we also have detention facilities, custodial facilities across the country congested. Police stations across this country are congested because suspects cannot be arraigned because there are no courts, and the police too are complicating the matter by not admitting people to bail. The police are also using this strike as an opportunity to extort people. I know persons personally who have been extorted on account of the closure of courts because they tell you the courts are on strike, you can't do anything, and they detain you until you are willing to part with money. Again, we already have backlog of cases in our courts, cases that have piled up for years that could not be attended to on account of delay. Just, recently, I had a client whose case has been pending at the Supreme Court for almost 2 to 3 decades. The man just died. His case couldn't go on because the Supreme Court, like the Punch described as, as the court of death cases, you have cases pending all over the place. The justice system has come to a halt, and these governors continue to subjugate the judiciary arm of government. What they want to do is to make the judiciary an extension of the Ministry of Justice. I'll give you an example. We have situations where heads of courts, chief judges, have to basically go to kneel before governors to get approval for very little expenditure. In fact, in my home state, Akwa Ibom, there was a particular year where the yearly almanac could not be printed because the governor refused to sign off the money that was meant for that purpose. So the chief judge has to be going to the government house to be begging the governor, and this happens across the states. So what these governors are afraid of is that if they allow autonomy for the state parliament, the state houses of assemblies, and the state judiciary, that their autocracy, because governors have become emperors. All of us are always complaining about the tyranny of the president, but the governors are worse. No governor in Nigeria today is held accountable. The institutions that are supposed to hold them accountable are the state house of assembly and the state judiciary. This is the reason why they are opposed to this autonomy. I read what Wike said. For me, it is an embarrassment to the legal profession, because this is a governor who is not only a legal practitioner. Governor Nyesom Wike is a life bencher. The body of benchers is the highest regulatory body in the legal profession. And this is a governor who is supposed to protect his profession. But then he came out threatening lawyers, threatening judicial workers, claiming that he has implemented autonomy, which cannot be the truth, because I am not aware that there is any autonomy in any state of the country. So it is important for Jusun to have insisted that this issue be resolved, because even the court, Justice Ademola, had made this point.
Yes.
As far back as 2013, in the case filed by Olisa Bagoba, is saying that the provisions of Section 81, Section 123, Section 162 of the Constitution that guarantees financial autonomy to the judiciary should be implemented, in that any amount standing to the credit of the judiciary, either in the federation account, the consolidated fund, should go directly to the heads of courts. Yeah. Should be disbursed to the heads of courts. So what is supposed to happen is that the annual budgetary estimates of expenditure for the judiciary should go directly to Parliament. But what do the governors do? The governors have turned the judiciary, to a punching bag. They release peanuts, money on piecemeal. Look at our courts. Many courts do not even have recording facilities. You don't find air conditioners. Stenographers are not available. Many judges don't have judicial assistants. You go to a typical day in a court, you look at the court list, you find dozens of cases listed by one judge. So the judiciary has been suffocated, and we cannot have rule of law. We cannot claim to be a democratic country when the arm of government that is supposed to mediate in dispute between the government and the governed and between citizens is not allowed to function efficiently. So I totally support Executive Order 10, which didn't even have to be, introduced by the president. But I like the fact that that executive order was issued. And it is also good that the agreement that we have now heard that has been signed will now replicate the structure that is applicable at the federal level to the states, so that this impunity of the governors can stop. Look at what the governors have done to the local government system. They have bastardized the local government system. They have bastardized the House of Assembly. There is no House of Assembly in Nigeria today that can hold any of the 36 governors accountable. Okay. And the reason is simple, because they are not independent.
Let me come in at this stage and ask you a question. We've been told that there is a window of 40 days for implementation. What is the implication of this? And from the feelers that you are getting from your colleagues who are actively involved in this a campaign to have autonomy for the judiciary. I'm talking about the Jusun guys now. What are they confident that we've finally broken the ice?
Well, Mr. Babajide, my opinion really is that I have examined the issues. I have examined the areas of dispute, the areas of conflict between the Nigerian Governors Forum on the one hand, the Presidential Committee led by Senator Etena on autonomy for the Parliament and the Judiciary at the state, and of course the Judiciary Staff Workers Union. I believe the issues have been basically, streamlined. What was left was for the governors to commit their signature to the document. Now, the timeline for implementation, we are expecting that the allocation for the judiciary for the month of June will go directly. They are supposed to make this payment, release the money standing to the credit of the judiciary in the entire state to the heads of court, that is the state chief judges. So whether this is going to be done before the strike is suspended or called off as it may be, is left to be seen. But what is important is that we are hoping that they will live to their commitment, because when you have a governor, as I said, already coming out to distance himself from what the Nigerian Governors Forum, led by Governor Fayemi of Ekiti State, has agreed upon, you wonder whether these governors are really sincere about autonomy. That is the question. So beyond the written undertaking, is there a political will on the part of these governors to implement this agreement? And I believe that Jusum should insist that this strike should be suspended conditionally, in the sense that any state in Nigeria, any governor in Nigeria that flouts the agreement that has been reached, the judiciary in that state should resume the strike, because we cannot have a democracy without an independent judiciary. We cannot have independent judiciary without financial autonomy. The same thing applies for the House of Assembly. Look at what could have been achieved for the period that the courts have been locked. Already with the COVID, the courts were shut down for months. We now had the series of breaks, Christmas breaks and so on. The judiciary has basically been on life support for a very long time. So this strike could have been avoided if these governors were responsible, if these governors were keeping to their oath of office to enforce and adhere to the provisions of the Constitution. But unfortunately, what have we seen? They continue to, exude this arrogance that nothing can happen, nobody can hold them accountable, that they can do whatever they like with the funds of the state. And it is so painful. Look at what happened in my state, Akwa Ibom. The state government, the executive is even going to court to say they cannot be investigated by the federal government, by EFCC. In Lagos State, you also have the House of Assembly passing a similar bill. So there are clear issues of independence of the legislature and the judiciary at the state level. So beyond the National Assembly, beyond the president, Nigerians must begin to hold our governors accountable, because in my humble opinion, these governors are the greatest threat to democracy in this country.
Okay. Maybe if I can come in, you have been emphasizing that we should hold our governors accountable. Beyond Jason, we haven't seen many of the professional bodies doing this. How better can we hold our governors accountable? Because if not for judiciary workers this time, we haven't had this, and the governors have always had their way on every issue. How better can we hold the governors accountable in Nigeria? How best can we do?
For me, thank you. That is where pressure groups, the civil society, and the media, very importantly, the media has a critical role to play. Look at, for example, let me give you an example. Look at the Freedom of Information Act. As I speak to you, no state in this country, no state, I stand to be corrected, no state in this country is FOI Act compliant. No state. I have filed FOI applications in Ogun State. I have filed FOI application in Lagos State. I have filed series of FOI applications in Akwa Ibom. None of them has responded positively. All the states are saying they are not bound by the FOI Act. Why have they not passed their own? The FOI Act would have been a very important piece of legislation that we would have used to hold the governors accountable. But the governors, as I said, have become lost unto themselves. They don't believe in the FOI, and they are calling for state police. They are calling for restructuring, but they have refused to restructure at the states. I do not agree with Malami. I don't share his opinion on almost everything. But I agree with the position that if the governors are genuinely committed to restructuring, why are they opposed to restructuring at the state level? Why haven't we seen them allow the state organs to function? That is the question. You go to court, the governors don't obey court order. Just this morning, I read that the Oyo State governor says he's not going to obey the Supreme Court judgment on restating local government. How can you have a democratically elected governor going publicly to say, I will not obey the highest court of the land? So this is the kind of recklessness, the kind of executive impunity that has destroyed this country. That is why the labor movement must be active. That is why the Nigerian Bar Association, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, the civil society and activists, we must also localize the struggle. Everybody is concentrating on Abuja, and I agree there's a lot to be done at Abuja. But we must look at what is happening at the states. There is no form of accountability in any of the states.
I want to thank you, Barrister Enibe Effiong. I know you could go on and on and on. Thank you for your contribution. And that's short notice. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure as always.
Babajide, so this will be like, we'll be watching this, the governors and some people, see if it's going to be implemented to the latter.
Yes, I think from Monday, we will have an idea of how Jusun intends to react to the news of the news that an agreement has been reached, because normally you expect that they will be the ones to
tell us.
But they are saying that they have to communicate with their colleagues. Then they will get back to the minister. They will get back to the minister on the decision of their colleagues, their members. They are not just going to decide. The ESCO members are not the decision makers. The committee of the whole will decide. Okay, are these conditions that we can go with? 40 days. Yes, 40 days is enough to actually implement this. So let us see what happens. But frankly, the governors need to be checked. Governors are behaving like God with the small letter G in our country, and it's about time that something was done about that. So hopefully we emerge out of this a lot better as a nation, because we need the independence of the judiciary. We need autonomy for the judiciary. I talked about a state where the judiciary was supposed to go on a course, and the governor was saying, is the course necessary? So if they were in charge of their funds, would anyone stop them from going for a course that will make you better, you know, as a judicial worker? So this is the sort of thing that we are saying. Wike can rave the way he wants. The man who was in that state before him was also similar in the way that he treated judicial workers. So I don't know how lawyers will become governor, yet they will not respect the Constitution.
They always was.
They will not respect the Constitution. They will not abide by even judgments of our courts. You know how long judicial workers were on strike in River State when Amechi was there. You know, now we have Wike now.
Yes, something
appearing like he's doing the judiciary a favor. Let their money go to them. You know, you see, Governor Wike must realize that he will not be governor forever. Because
a few days ago, he was commissioning quotas for judges and all that. I was making a big show of it. That this is something the judiciary can do for itself, as long as it deems it important enough that that's what they wanted to do. Why are you the one doing
releasing their money? Release their money to them. Let them do what they like with their money.
Fraud, there are avenues to take care of that.
You know, the governors must be thinking that, okay, by the time we release money meant for judiciary and the legislature to them,
nobody will fear him again.
Even the funds at our disposal will have shrunk considerably. So they are seeing that as another means of whittling down their powers. If the president didn't think like that,
the restructuring, the division of powers, we still have this kind of attitude.
Yes, no, I agree that at their own level too, there must be restructuring. What I disagree with is an attempt to now use that to rubbish the whole campaign for because look, they came up with about 10 items. You now picked one item, and you, Malami, picked one item, and you are using that to attack them. How about the other laudable things that they talked about? That's not how to look at an issue. You just pick one out of 10. For example, they said, look, let's have our ports revived. We have no less than 23 ports in our country, yet everybody relies on the port in Lagos. So it can't be bad for governors to say, let us create new economies by revamping our courts. I mean, our ports. So you can't just dismiss everything that they said because of one issue. No, you can't do that.
Well, last on this?
Let us have freedom, autonomy for the judiciary at the state and the legislature at the state. Without it, there is no democracy in the real sense of it. We need to have it.
Okay, we'll go for this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still your journalist hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back. It's your favorite news and current affairs program reaching you live from TVC News, and I still have Babajide Kolade Otitoju in the studio and Adekunle Yusuf on Journalist Hangout this Sunday. All right, as a legal tender and symbol of national pride, the Nigerian Naira has continued its downward slide in value. On Friday, the Naira fell to its lowest level at the parallel markets since 2017, beg your pardon, after it crossed the 500 mark. It exchanged for 502 Naira to a dollar. This came 2 weeks after the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, devalued the currency. Babajide, 500 Naira mark since 2017. I don't know. We succeeded for several months. We kept it at 360 Naira. I think it was for some years. Several kept defending it, and it was stable, hovering between 350, 360 for a long time, 360. Now, immediately it started the movement. At a point in time, the Central Bank of Nigeria actually deleted the official rates from their websites. Just now, I don't think we have the official rate and black market rate again. I think we just have only one rate, 500 Naira mark.
No, we still have both rates. We have
the parallel market.
The official rate is 411. The parallel market rate keeps moving. At the beginning of the week, at the point was on 495, and then later on got to 502. The moment we devalued the Naira 2 weeks ago, I knew that the parallel market will respond to that devaluation. There's just no way it won't respond to that devaluation, because we devalued it, and just quietly we devalued it, but on the website of CBN, they changed the official rate from 394 to 410 point something, which technically is 411. So the pressure that the Naira had been facing pushed the CBN to do this devaluation. But as we have seen, because in 2020 we actually devalued a number of times, but we are still unable to stop the slide of the Naira in spite of the devaluation, because supply remains the key problem. As long as inflows, foreign direct investment, are not coming in as they should, definitely it will impact negatively on the value of our currency. Nigeria is number 7 in the world in terms of what is called migrant remittances. Our diaspora people, they send in a lot of money home. In fact, in 2019, Nigerians in the diaspora sent in about $23 billion. But this is not sufficient to take care of this supply gap that is putting extreme pressure on the Naira. Don't also forget, during this period, despite the fact that oil prices are going up, our foreign reserves continues to go down. It's been going down since the beginning of the year, when it was $36.5 billion. Today it's gone to $34 billion. In fact, in the month of May, our foreign reserve declined by $640 million. And when you cast your mind back to 2019, we actually peaked at $40 billion. So we've not been able to reach that threshold. The foreign reserves have been going down. And why? Because it is with these foreign reserves too that we continue to defend the Naira. We are taking funds from the foreign reserves to pushing them into the foreign exchange market as a way of addressing demand. But it's just not enough. Virtually everything we do, we import virtually everything. We import the most basic of items. We import clothes, the clothes that we wear. We import food. We import virtually everything. And there are those things that they call invisible expenditure. That is like consultancy, foreign consultancy, even medical tourism and the rest. All those things, you don't see them, but they actually cost a lot of dollars. Yes. So as long as we do not have enough supply of this currency, especially now that even foreigners are withdrawing their investments from our country, because it's going up. It's going up too. As long as we have that situation, there is no way that we will be able to address the issue of supply, which in itself has a lot to do with the fact that Nigeria is not a producing nation. The solution is for us to revamp our economy. Let us begin to produce. When we produce, we'll earn money. But we are just content with simply buying this, buying that, all from abroad.
I have Adi Dayo from Oshobo in Osun State. Thank you for joining us, Dayo.
Good afternoon to everyone in the studio.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, thank the Almighty I get through to you people this afternoon.
Sure.
So I don't know if I may. Can I contribute on the past topics you've made before I buttress my point with the current one we are on right now?
Don't worry.
All right. Thank you very much. Regarding this Jusun of a thing, I feel people at the ends of our affairs, are like some kind of accidental rulers. You understand what I'm saying? Because in a situation whereby you have a Jusun judicial sector going on a strike for close to 4 months, if I'm not mistaken, right now, if not more than that, and we say we are in a country that is working. No, this is not a country. This is like we are in some kind of anarchy or something. So that being said, I think we need more people that knows the business of government, to actually, be in that government, to actually make form policies and all that. Thank you for
your contribution. Now, Adekunle Yusuf, back to the dollar. It's very, very, how would I call it, worrisome when you see the trend, this kind of trend. Especially, some people will need to travel. Some people will need to pay their children's school fees. They make their money in Naira. They have to convert it to dollar abroad.
Businesses will
do you understand? So, when we have this kind of... I think this happened last in 2016, 2017. I remember.
2017.
So, 2017, they were able to bring it down. Do you see it coming down again?
I don't think so, because when you look at all the measures they put in place, they don't seem to be yielding the positive, results that people expect. If you look at, I think, March this year, in March or February, the CBN came up with this idea of Naira for dollar scheme. That is, they realized that through remittances from Nigerians in the diaspora, that we can make a lot of money. So what that was intended to do was that if you remit money to Nigeria through recognized operators, the CBN will give you 5 Naira for every dollar. And from usual $5 million Nigeria was getting every week, so that dumped to 40 million per week, which was a success. So they thought they could do that between, I think May. You understand me? But in spite of that, that is, they believe if they make like 40 million per week, in a month, that's times 4. So in a year, that's 1.9 billion or something like that, according to their projections. But in spite of that, Naira is still sliding, when compared with other. You look at a 40-year history. In 1981, 1 million Naira is equivalent to $1.57 million. That is to say, Nigeria's Naira was more valuable than the dollar. That was 1981. 10 years later, the same 1 million Naira, that is, I'm talking about 1991, the same 1 million Naira will get you only 102 $200,000. Imagine within just 10 years when Nigeria 1 million can get you $1.5 million. Now, after 1991, had 10 years, which is 2001, if I'm correct, the same 1 million naira, Nigeria 1 million naira, can only get you $8,000. I mean, $8,800 and something dollars. Had 10 years again, which was 2011, the same 1 million naira, Nigeria's 1 million naira, can only get you $6,300. Remember where we are coming from. Now this is year 2021, 2021, which is exactly 40 years. Your 1 million naira can only get you $639.
1 M.
See the great decline from 1.5 million dollars in 1981. Nigeria 1 million naira. Now the same amount of money can only get to $2,639. So how did we get here? This is terrible. So you see, we should blame our elite as well. Go round. How many of our governors spend naira? No, mingle with them. They did in dollars. I'm not talking about only governors. Talk of ministers. Talk about our big men, people in the private sector. So we need to think deeply about our country. How do we want our country? The way what we consume. We know our economy is not a productive economy. It is import dependent. How do we reverse all this? We need to begin the conversation.
Hassan is calling us from Lekki.
Yes.
Thank you for staying with us,
My name is
Hassan.
Hassan calling from Lekki.
All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Barajide, AY, and Adekule.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What is very clear here about the exchange rate? There's one thing missing there. People are exporting dollar outside Nigeria. People are taking dollar out of Nigeria for a very long time. And it's a crime against humanity and it's economic sabotage. About a month ago, Minister of Finance said the same thing. And again, CBN is giving money. CBN is giving money to Bureau de Change. The discrepancy between the rate of CBN is given to Bureau de Change and the amount Bureau de Change and banks are selling to the public is over 18 naira. What the federal government for checkmating the banks and the Bureau de Change? Look, the issue of foreign direct investment is there. But what we are seeing here is a problem of systemic failure. And government is so ready to face them head on. The banks are not helping matters. The Bureau de Change are not helping matters. That is why people resorted to buying dollar to keep because government is not helping them. And CBN keep on devaluing the value of Naira. For what? A country that is only dependent on everything. And now the dollar is going up and we are talking of inflation.
Thank you.
Inflation will be there. Very soon there will be an industrial crisis. Apart from industrial crisis, there will be a general crisis in Nigeria.
Thank you for your contribution.
The federal government under President Muhammad Buhari.
Well, because when you look at it, we must start facing bigger problems. Because I don't know why the dollar will be 500 naira, and what can we do to get out of this mess? At least to take it back to where it used to be. I know it's not possible for a dollar to be the naira to be under in $100 naira again.
The truth is, the demand for the dollar will keep rising. We are importing petrol. We are still importing petrol, and it's still dollar denominated, it's foreign exchange denominated. We are paying some of our creditors. We still pay them from our foreign reserves because these loans are foreign exchange denominated. So when you look at the quantum of money that we spend importing petroleum products into our country, you look at the quantum of dollars that we use to service our debt, and then the fact that virtually everything we import. In 2019 alone, it was reported that we spent 47 billion on imports. 47 billion on imports in 2019. So there's no way there won't be a demand for that, for the greenback. Then the issue that he raised about people exporting dollars. Nigeria is probably the world's number one importer of the dollar. But people are exporting dollars for a different reason. Corruption in our country ensures that people who steal so much money or get bribed billions of naira, they convert those billions to dollar and then go and keep. Somebody bought a house for 375 million in Abuja. He paid cash, of course dollars, of 350. The remaining he transferred. So where did he get the dollars? As long as our system allows so much stealing to take place, all these people stealing the naira, they convert the naira that they have stolen, they convert to dollars.
And to keep.
And keep. So some of them will buy houses abroad. That's probably what he's saying. Because people won't understand when he says they are exporting dollars. Because it's not as simple as he's saying it. The money that
go and buy properties in Dubai,
you heard what our friend was saying the other day, that companies, property companies in Dubai have now made it extremely easy for you to buy. They'll ask you, do you want us to help you evade the banking system in Nigeria so that you can buy houses? You heard Larry Suraj saying that those companies are now many in the UAE. They will ensure that you buy
large amount.
Yes, to come and buy landed property in their country. They help you evade the system here. And it's still dollars that you spend. You are not going to spend naira over there. So the demand, this demand is largely artificial. Then when they are talking about remittances, diaspora remittances that we are pinning so much hope on, we are just wasting money. If, for example, $30 billion is brought into our country, you will have spent about 150 billion naira just to entice dollars. Now, a lot of this diaspora, a lot of these people sending money from abroad, they are only interested in speculating. They are waiting for the naira to slide further. They are not in a hurry to release this money. They are waiting for the naira, yes, so that they can trade with it, because when it slides, then they make more money. So their own agenda is different from the CBN's agenda, which is to mop up as many dollars as they can mop up. It's just unfortunate.
There are some properties in Lagos that I know that they sell in dollars. There's house rents on the island. They pay dollars to do the house rent. A lot of transactions within our system.
Not only in Lagos, Abuja.
It's like a legal tender.
There are schools, primary schools, secondary schools.
And you can't do that in other countries.
That you cannot pay even in naira. You pay in dollars. So we have a system. We have an economic system. We have a system that is built only for the interests of the elite. Because when you look at what is happening, it's only the elite that enjoy Nigeria. The average, the ordinary folks lament they bear the brunt of all these things we talk about. Because at the end of the day, when the prices of Naira, come, when the value of Ghana comes down, it's the people, they are the ones that feel the brunt. So at the end of the day, when you send your child to school in Abuja and you pay in dollars because you have it, you are not thinking about the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that you are ruining your economy, because when you are ruining the value of national currency, you are ruining the economy. And we said, deal with big men in power. You realize that when they move around, most of them, for their convenience, they don't go with Naira. They go in, pounds. It's even dollar.
Even in South Africa, you can't use the dollar. If you don't spend it, if you don't go and change it at the Bureau de Change, even when you want to change it, they will take your passport, your international passport. And the only place you can spend it is in the duty-free shops in the airports. Outside of the duty-free, you have to change it.
We don't have that in Nigeria.
Yes, that is what encourages.
And why we don't have that
spending dollars anyhow.
The seller of the property will even be happier.
Yes, when you bring
dollars, that
so
dollars
many of these people that want to keep their loot in dollar, do you know why? They want to preserve the value of their money.
Yes.
They know that whatever happens, the dollar retains its value. It's the Nigerian Naira that is always fluctuating. Or, neither here nor there. They know the dollar is there, gidigba.
The South African rand does not fluctuate like
the way.
Oh my God.
Okay, and finally, to go or not to go is the raging debate concerning the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC. Recent calls for the scrapping of the scheme culminated in a bill for its discontinuation at the House of Representatives, which has reached the second reading. But some prominent Nigerians, including the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, want it retained, as its scrapping will do Nigeria's unity no good. In this journalist Hangout weekend special, Abiola Shulanke examines the merits in retaining the scheme.
25-year-old Gimba Bala is from Kafanchan, Kaduna State in northwest Nigeria. Gimba studied biochemistry at the University of Ibadan, Oyo State, in Nigeria's southwest. But this is his first time in Lagos, where he's doing the mandatory one-year National Youth Service. He shares his experience serving his fatherland in Lagos State.
Lagosians are fun people. Like, so far I've been patronizing them at the Malami, and so far they've been good, they've been nice, they've been welcoming, and the camp officials have also been very welcoming and they've been nice. I've also been enjoying my experience here because I've been well taken care of, as you can see. I'm even adding chicks here.
Having been in Lagos for some weeks now, Gimba has some things to say about the NYSC scheme.
I learned skills like that of data analysis. I've also learned to see people participate in bid making, skill acquisition, and entrepreneurship development. I also see where I also interact with other people from various parts of Nigeria. My roommates consist of Nedu from the southeastern state. I also have one Sheyi who is also from the southwestern state. Yesterday I was engaged with some activities with my fellow corps members, and I did not return to the room on time. Could you believe that my roommates almost said I was missing because they cared about me? It showed the love, the unity, and we're all from different parts of Nigeria. This shows that NYSC is a pillar uniting Nigeria together.
The NYSC is a compulsory one-year program for Nigerian youths who have successfully graduated from universities and polytechnics. The scheme serves as an avenue to promote unity and national cohesion in Nigeria. The program was established by former head of state General Yakubu Gowon on the 22nd of May 1973 for reconciliation, reconstruction, and rebuilding of the country after the civil war that lasted between 1967 and 1970. 48 years after its establishment, the NYSC is suddenly attracting public scrutiny. Many Nigerians are of the opinion that it has outlived its usefulness and failed to meet modern realities of the Nigerian society. The climax of this criticism trailing the scheme is the introduction of a bill at the House of Representatives for its scrapping. The bill has killed first reading at the lower legislative chamber. Sponsor of the bill, Awaji Inombe Kabiante, a People's Democratic Party (PDP) lawmaker from Rivers State, cited insecurity and exploitation of corps members as some of the reasons behind the shock move to have the NYSC scrapped. Mixed reactions are trailing the bill as many Nigerians support the scrapping, while some argue that it should stay, but with some modifications. Prominent Nigerians like the Sultan of Sokoto, Sahad Abubakar III, said scrapping the NYSC is not in the best interest of Nigeria's unity. A senior lecturer at the Adekunle Ajasi University, Akungba Akoko in Ondo State, Gbenga Abimbola, said scrapping the scheme will certainly undermine national unity. He said instead of scrapping it, the federal government should address the inadequacies in the scheme.
We can boldly say that it has achieved the aim of national integration, cultural diversity, and unifying us in spite of our diversities. It has given us the opportunity of exploring other peoples and cultures across the Federation.
Sunday Ajongbolo, also from Ondo State, served in 1992 in Niger State, North Central Nigeria. He still gets nostalgic about his service here. He said, scrapping the scheme will not do the country any good.
Either you like it or not, we need more schemes than before to foster national cohesion. What we are passing through in Nigeria today. So what, in the essence, is that scheme is even becoming more relevant than when it was established. And so, for anybody to call for the scrapping of NYSC, it means it's dancing to the tune of the new song of agitation. Let everybody go his own way.
Some people who have benefited from the scheme disagree that it's about time it got scrapped. One of such persons is Moriseku Amori, who got retained at his place of primary assignments in Lagos.
Where I work presently, I served there and I got retained there. So NYSC gave me the opportunity because I was able to prove myself within that 1 year of service, and I got retained at where I was working. And NYSC showed me that unity is important and made me understand other people's culture. So these two things within 1 year, achieving these two things within 1 year with NYSC is one of the biggest achievements in my life.
Reacting to this raging debate, the state coordinator of NYSC in Lagos preferred some solutions.
Some students have been kidnapped, taken for 10, 20 days into the bush. Have we called for the extirpation of schools in the country? No! What we are going through in the country, we are going through it as an entity. And we should understand what is going on and not calling for the scrapping of an institution like this that is helping the Nigerian society to grow.
To commemorate the 48th anniversary of establishment of NYSC, the Lagos Orientation Camp organized a unity walk for the core members. It is aimed at enlightening them and the public on the need for peaceful coexistence among Nigerians.
A reaffirmation of core members' commitment to the cause of the National Youth Service Corps. They believe in this scheme and they feel this is an opportunity in the 48th anniversary to tell the Nigerian society that they are ready to serve the fatherland. Again, they're also using this opportunity to tell Nigerian society that they believe in the corporate existence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which they are serving under.
Some core members also share their experiences in camp.
Ordinary, the carrying of our luggages was something I didn't even expect. It was like they didn't even want us to worry and stress ourselves. They just wanted something easy and stress-free, and they wanted us to relax, and everything was just done properly. Everyone was nice. We did our COVID test, and then we went through all the things accordingly.
I've met amazing people. I've learned to live a life of impact. I've also learned to put myself out there. I have explored opportunities in camp that I would never have thought I would.
It was a very rigorous training. We marched more than 5+ hours a day. We lived a regimented lifestyle. There was a time to eat, a time to sleep, a time to come out and socialize, a time to participate in activities. So yeah, those were very challenging at the beginning because it took me out of my comfort zone.
Although there have been plans to scrap the National Youth Service Corps program, NYSC, some core members in Lagos, Nigeria Commercial Nerve Center says it should stay. They have the view that it will enable them acquire self-reliance and also contribute to the economic growth. Abiola Sholanke, TVC News, Lagos.
The National Assembly, that is the House of Representatives, both now, it has gone through second reading that the NYSC should be scrapped. And I listened to the debates, and the last set that went for orientation, after they went for that orientation, I have somebody there, and the person was posted to Adamawa State. So after the 3 weeks, they now told them that they should post them to their state of origin. The camp was closed after the 3 weeks. They couldn't afford to hold anybody back, not to redeploy in Adamawa State. They just had to leave. I don't know, maybe that is what was obtained in other northern states. But right now, because of the security situation in the country, most of them, they come back to their bases and everything after the 3 weeks orientation camp. Now parents are saying
some of them, not most of them.
Yes. Majority of them, they just want to come back. Because some parents, they didn't even allow their children to go for ordinary call-up. This 3 weeks call-up. They are posted to places like Castina, they won't allow them to go. They are posted to places like all these places that we have banditry and this thing, they won't allow them to go. So Jide, is this valid? Is this enough reason to say that, NYSC should be scrapped?
No, I can never support the scrapping of NYSC. I owe largely what I am today to the NYSC, because I went to Kaduna to do my NYSC, and I met amazing people who gave me the opportunity to show my talent as a writer, and I became a journalist. So I didn't really know the North, because when my parents were living in the North, I was too young, at that time. So, but by the time I returned, I liked the place, and I worked in the North for many years. So, and that's the feeling that many people have too. Some people got married through the scheme. They met their partners. They met their partners through the NYSC, and many people, like when we are debating on social media, you find some people say, Borno State used to be very, very peaceful. That was where I did my NYSC. Yes. I enjoyed the
peace.
We have a mandate. The government has a mandate to keep Nigeria secure. NYSC is not the problem. Many countries of the world have something like this.
Yes.
So many countries.
In Israel.
Even
IDF, you join immediately.
Look, even Korea. I was even discussing the matter of that player from Tottenham Hotspur who had to go for national service. Then they gave him a waiver to still continue to play at Tottenham Hotspur for some time before he will now come and do it. Goran Ivanisevic, one of the greatest tennis players and big server during his time, he had to leave tennis to serve his country, because once you get to that age, you must go and serve your country. What I would even want to see is a situation in which this NYSC will give people military training, we give them weapons handling training, because it's not enough to simply train people in the area of endurance and all that.
Physical fitness.
Give them weapons handling training. When there is war, a lot of these people we can use. That's what the Israelis do. That's Egypt has active fighting personnel 438,000, but their reservists is 479. Which and who are the reservists? People like this. People who have gone through this kind of training at youth level like this. When war comes, they just bring them in. You come and serve their nation. You can't dodge it. So, because to keep a regular army that, for a small country like Israel, to keep a regular army is not easy. But they rely so much on the reservists. When the Arabs touched in 1973, during the time of Golda Meir, that they could simply overrun Israel, it was the reservists that Golda Meir quickly called. They came in, and the table turned, because they've had training, including on weapons handling. So I think that we can use the NYSC a lot more than we are even using them now. You know, look at a state like Lagos. NYSC has more than 400 doctors working in Lagos. Where would Lagos be without those NYSC doctors? 400 doctors, core members. Across our country, a lot of the people teaching in those rural schools, they are core members. You know? So the scheme is not the problem. Security situation we have to deal with. Even if we scrap NYSC, if we do not solve our security problems, things will get worse.
Adekunle Yusuf, we have another situation whereby the Independent National Electoral Commission would deploy them as ad hoc staff. Right now, our elections are, completely, violence all through anything that has to do with our election, and these people, they are like put in harm's way.
When I served Nigeria, so let me first of all state.
I know.
I did youth service. But when I look at the state of NYSC today, even before with these problems of banditry, I believe it is no longer, it has outlived its usefulness. I'm sorry to say it. Based on how NYSC is today, it's a meaningless national entity. But if we reform it, it can do a lot of good for Nigerians and for Nigeria. And what did I mean? If you look at how many people get caught up every year, when you look at what we spend, are we getting value for money? For something years after it was created, have we done, performance evaluation to see that should we continue, should we discontinue, are we having value for money? Let me give a little instances. In 2018, 350,000 Nigerian youths were caught up. 2018. As at that time, the federal government of Nigeria was giving a stipend of, I think, 18,000, if I remember very well. At that, it means we spent billions. If I look at the figures I still remember, at that time, Nigeria spent 83 billion on NYSC stipend alone for 350,000, core members. Now, last year, the federal government, increased the allowance because of national minimum wage to 33. So if we see, and the number we always have every year, because in 2017, what we have 293,293 core members, called up. The year before that, we had 260,000. That is to say, every year, the number keeps increasing. So by now, I don't know the new figure, but I believe it's more. So it means that we will have spent more than double of what I mentioned, that is more than 83,000 times 2. If we go by 350,000 core member figure. If you look at how much is spent on kitting them, if you look at how much is involved in feeding them in 21 days, in keeping about 100,000 NYSC officials. So when we look at this, how are we getting?
when people are called up, you realize that the children of the elite, do they really participate in NYSC?
I'll take this break. We'll be right back. The president of Historical Society of Nigeria, Professor Okwe, is joining us. Thank you for joining us. The National Youth Service Corps. Can you hear me? Hello, Prof. I think we're struggling to fix that audio. Okay, Babajide, you've listened to Adekunle Yusuf, and we'll still, it's like a balanced argument now. Adekunle is
no, I thought we should reform it. That's my point now.
No, that the purpose
the point I was trying to reform it.
No, but at the end of the day, looking at the expenses and looking at what you said earlier, that these people can be used as a reserve for the military.
Yes, I'm saying that even many companies in our country can barely get by without the use of corps members.
Honestly.
And our ministries, our schools in the rural areas of our country, they are heavily dependent on corps members. You go to my village, the primary health care center that we have there, the cottage hospitals, heavily dependent on these corps members. So we cannot, because one lawmaker from Rivers State clearly not knowing what to present on the floor. Of all the problems in our country is how to scrap NYSC that he thinks about. The other day, a lawmaker too got up and said they should begin to jail people who use generators. I mean, is that what they sent you to go and do there? Of all the problems in this country, you can't, if the NYSC that must be scrapped. We are saying that even our leaders have not handled our diversity well. If we scrap NYSC, it will now get worse because the current young people, a lot of them, they are able to go to many parts of the country. They come back, they have a better appreciation of
understanding of how to do their things there.
You can imagine if I didn't live in the north, for example. There are some arguments that people get into that I will not get into because I'm in a position of strength as somebody very knowledgeable about what goes on in the north. Many people don't have that. Many people look at you, they simply, oh, he's a Fulani man. Just because, yes, he's Muslim and he looks, maybe he's a bit light-skinned, then he must be a Fulani man. So there is a lot about our country that our young people need to know. And it is unhelpful when we don't have like NYSC that has really helped to bring people of different nationalities in our country together, young people, so that they can know their country a lot more.
All right, Prof. Thank you for joining us. Hello? Yes, Professor Okwe.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
That argument, if NYSC should be scrapped or not.
The question, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Please start talking.
Can you not pose the question again? Let me hear you.
Should the NYSC be scrapped
or not?
The argument whether NYSC should be scrapped or not should be contextualized against the backdrop of the history of this country and from the perspective of the reasons why it came into existence. My position on this matter is informed by a number of research that have been carried out on the NYSC. If you go back to the history of when the NYSC came into place in 1973, you will realize that there were a number of factors that were challenging our multiculturalism at that time. Nigeria just came out of the Civil War, which held it down for about 30 months. Nigeria was faced with the challenge of manpower to drive the development process of the military administration at that point. But more importantly, there was a need to build national institutions for the purpose of national integration. Two institutions came into existence. Number one was NYSC. And it was supposed to mobilize youth that had gone through universities or other tertiary institutions so that they can fill in the gap of the scarcity of manpower to drive our development process. In addition to the fact that it will provide a platform for various youth from various ethnic divides to have a moment to contact each other and interface, learn from each other's culture, and on the basis of that, drive national integration. The other institution was the NIPS, which was established in 1976. Those who are arguing that the NYSC should be scrapped do not understand the role that the NYSC has played since 1973. The NYSC has promoted national integration in a way and manner that no any social institution has done in the history of this country. Number two, the NYSC has filled a void of manpower. Yeah. If you scrap NYSC, you are going to have crisis in your economy. Private sectors, public sectors, the rural areas, and all other government agencies depend on the manpower that the NYSC supplies every time. That's why here you are talking about. I joined at the time that somebody was talking about the money that the federal government has spent on this scheme. What we should understand is the value and purpose that the NYSC is serving. It may not be monetary. You can't quantify that in monetary terms. In fact, when we were making the case for the increase in corporate allowance, even the 30,000 naira is too small, given the kind of work that these corporates do. Those who are suggesting that the NYSC should be scrapped should go back to the history of this country. Currently, Nigeria is at the point, and we are talking about scrapping NYSC at a time that Nigeria is under intense challenge. We must understand that national integration has to be deliberately created. It is not something that we can wish away. The government must instill insisting loyalty on its people through the creation of platforms that will promote national integration.
Time is fast spent, Prof. I hope we had reached him earlier.
Honestly, we sorry about that. Time is fast spent. Maybe
some of the most capable historians in our country, and he understands these issues very well.
Yes, Professor Okwe,
the president of the Historical Society of
Nigeria, and talking about.
And he would be able to contextualize the issues better than many people would do.
Yes.
From
we are
the way
still,
he's speaking now.
We are not going to leave it at this point.
We might take it.
There are so many things have happened. Even under the current leadership of the NYSC, they have set up SME schemes
to make sure
whereby youth corps members get trained, so that as soon as they leave the service,
they don't have to look for jobs.
They don't have to look for paid jobs. And then apart from that, even grants from its budget, grants to corps members so that they can set themselves up when they leave, when they finish the service here. So
we'll monitor the proceedings in the House of Rep. I think with something we might have to visit.
We will still, because we need Professor Okwe to enlighten us more, because this is his area, the area of extreme competence. We really need him. It's unfortunate that we couldn't reach you, Prof.
Earlier.
But we are going to organize another discussion on the NYSC. It's too important to us as a nation to allow some people to change the narrative and set us back tremendously. We won't allow that to happen.
So, Adekunle Yusuf, thank you for your contribution. Thank you. Journalist Hangout Sunday is really a special one. And BKO, that's the executive director, producer of Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Thank you so much. It's well executed.
Thank you for having me. as if you don't have me, I can't come here on my own. Thank you for having me.
So that's our package. Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m.